What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got a video about a knife that has really kind of hit home with me. Really is going to leave an impact on me, and I want to talk about it. This is the Mastrop Laconico Keen. This knife was provided by the manufacturer or by Mastrop to the pass-around group that I'm a part of, and it has arrived in my possession, and I have been very pleased to carry it for the last 3 days. I have carried this knife in my office, just around town, and I've really enjoyed this knife, and I'm going to go into my thoughts on it and everything like that. First off, though, let's go ahead and get some measurements. Okay, so overall length coming in at it's just barely shy of 8 inches. It's probably 7 7/8, something like that. Blade length on this guy looks like total blade length's about 3.5 inches. Cutting edge is probably 3.4 inches. So this is going to fall right around the Benchmade Griptilian mark. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons here. Against the Ontario Rat 1, you can see there Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. Against the PM2 coming in at about 8.3 inches overall. Man, I need to get that pocket clip switched up. Benchmade Griptilian, you can see there, very similar to the Benchmade Griptilian in size. And that's probably part of the reason why I like this so much, because the Benchmade Griptilian size knives really nail it for me. So about the same size there. And last but not least, the Spyderco Delica coming in at 7 inches overall. Let's go ahead and weigh this guy. Give you a demo there of the action. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, let's go ahead and move in here to the weight. Turn my trusty scale on. Weight on the Laconico Keen, about 4 1/4. Let's lift up, go to the other side. About 4 1/4. So that's right around the weight that it's right there between 4 and 6 ounces, where I enjoy the feeling of heft, but it's not too heavy for me to carry. Again, some of you will have different standards for weight and what you find acceptable to carry, but for me, it kind of hits that sweet spot. Let's go ahead and do the paper cut test. As usual, the paper cut test is not a definitive cutting test in any way. It really isn't going to tell you a whole lot other than how the edge feels out of box to me versus the universal slicing standard, the paramilitary 2. Some of you will get something out of this and some of you won't. So PM2, slicey as ever. How about the Keen? Okay, we have a knife that cuts just as well or better, or slices just as well or better than the PM2. You can see here the blade thickness is extremely similar. It looks to be about 0.145, and the distance to the cutting edge from the spine is also very similar. A little bit more on the PM2, but let's take a closer look at this blade. And again, remember guys, I'm not a master of edge geometry. Come on, paper, get out of here. This to me looks like, it kind of looks like a folding butter knife, but look at that flat ground blade. I mean, it's like a crazy slicer grind. There's just ever so slight amount of flat up there, and then it just curves up. It's just a pure flat ground blade. Comes down to what I assume is a very thin cutting edge. This thing is a machine, and the reason I didn't react, like explosively like I usually do if I have a really good slicer, is because I've already cut some paper with this thing. I couldn't help myself. It looked like it was going to be a good slicer, and it didn't let me down, and then it just made me want to carry it all the time. I know there are some of you out there who are like me. If it slices through paper like that, you just enjoy it that much more. But the way that blade is set up is going to be ideal for Edc tasks. You're going to, obviously opening letters, cutting cardboard, rope, stuff like that, but I mean, that blade is just going to be kind of a laser beam through a lot of stuff, and it's very appealing. On top of that, you don't have a whole lot of billboarding on the blade other than this little Mastrop logo back here. Let me see if I can focus in on that. Mass drop and S35VN on this side. Very classy. R Laconico up on the spine. I really wish we'd see more of that with other manufacturers. And of course on the show side, nothing. Just the way most of us like it. Nothing. That's beautiful. Just the grind lines. Very, very pretty. Really, really like their choice of styling on this knife. Some of you are probably going to like that and some of you won't, but you know, I have always said that I enjoy simplicity. Now, I will give credit where credit is due for styling when it makes sense. Like I do enjoy a busy knife. I like, you know, bolsters and you know, the Mass Drop Orca is a great example. Titanium anodized hardware, Timascus pivot collar, marbled carbon fiber, and then the liners, you know, were also anodized, and it was very, very busy. I like that, but I really personally prefer simplicity, and that is what we have here. So not only do you have a functional tool, but you have one that is kind of minimalist in design. You have a very, very simple kind of butter knife shaped blade that's fully flat ground. You've got a tip that has a reasonable reinforcement out to the tip. You know, I mean, in terms of how far the thickness carries. Super thin behind the edge. By the way, completely symmetrical. The blade is beautiful all the way around. This knife is actually manufactured by We Knives, so it is made in China, but those of you who are familiar with We Knives know that they really nail it in the fit and finish department. Moving down to the scales, we have 6AL4V bronze anodized tumbled titanium. That looks really, really nice, very even. This fuller here, nicely chamfered. You don't have sharp edges. Looks like it might be sharp. It's not sharp. You can see there it's ever so slightly more matte than the bronze here, and I think the media just has a harder time getting down in there, but what it does is it creates just subtle contrast with the bronze titanium, and that wasn't me who noticed that. That was actually a coworker who pointed that out. What I like to do with these knives when I receive them from the pass-around group, or any knife that I receive, I show them to my non-knife friends and I show them to my knife friends, and I do that on purpose to get different points of view. You know, knife guys will notice a lot of the same thing. We'll all say the same stuff. Oh man, it feels great in hand. Oh my gosh, the detent on that. Wow, the flipping action's great. Man, look at those grind lines. We all say the same stuff over and over and over and over again, and then you hear me say it, and then, you know, I imagine a lot of you are just nodding. Yep, that's another good knife. I like to show it to non-knife people, and I like to get, even though, like, you know, they don't really know what they're looking at, they don't really know what they're handling, but I just want to see, hey, what do you think of this? I don't tell them the price or anything. I just say, hey, what do you think? And I like to see what their initial reaction is. And I'm glad that I do that, because I got an interesting response from the guy I sit next to at work. He said, I like how that fuller looks, and I like that it's slightly more matte bronze on the inside of it. And I was like, that's interesting. I never would have noticed that. So, I mean, that has nothing to do with function, but it's neat, you know? And that is a thing you can see there. Anyways, pivot there you can see is a nice, just polished, simple Torx head pivot. Moving down to the body, you've got two little button head Torx heads that are unfortunately those little tiny size, but there's so much good here. I mean, I don't know that I really need to stop and complain about that. You have a nice bronze finish. It's just the exact same finish on the backspacer. Goes up about 50% the length of the body. Open body construction, no milling on the inside. Continues around to the butt. You've got a little lanyard hole you can get 550 paracord in. You've got a pocket clip that is the popsicle style that you see on some Medford designs, and actually really a lot of designs. It works. I mean, it definitely goes with the simplicity of the entire design. You've got a steel lock bar insert that also acts as the over travel stop for the frame lock. Nice early lockup right there at about 20%. And of course, completely centered there. Sorry, that was blurry. Knife is completely centered, and just all the way around. Great looking, great finishes, just all the way around a great design choice for this knife. Another thing that I really, really like about this knife is the design of the flipper tab. Now, you know, some people, I think Nick Shabazz specifically came up with the term pocket pecker for some of these. Some of them stick out really far. An example of a flipper tab that I don't like that sticks out way too far is on the Medford 187F. That it looks like a pistol trigger. That's too big for me. Pretty much everything else that I've ever seen is relatively unobtrusive to me, and it doesn't really bother me. So I don't necessarily always care about the length of this, but the design and where your finger falls, how it's rounded here, it's very comfortable, and it's very ready to flip. I don't have to adjust my finger or think about this from drawing it from my pocket, laying my finger down. Whether you go for the push button or you're more of a light switch person, if I can do that. The Detent is heavy. Let me give you a better example. Whether you're a light switch person or a push button person, it's going to flip. The Detent is very, very reliable. I actually attempted to get the blade to not fully deploy right there because I wanted to give you an example of the Detent, but it went ahead and deployed anyway. So let me show you that Detent. Really nice Detent. I would call that medium heavy. Flipping action is excellent. The knife runs on bearings. And actually, you know what? I'm just noticing this for the first time. It also has, like many knives I've shown here lately, it has an internal stop pin more towards the front there. But just excellent. Not quite a free faller, but I have noticed, you know, if you look back to when I unboxed it, sorry, there's some stuff on the blade I'm going to wipe off. If you look back to when I unboxed it, the action was still not quite wanting to drop at all. I was having to help it. Now you can see here where we're at now, just after a few days handling it and probably like 500 flips, but it's getting closer. So I have to imagine that even though this isn't a super heavy blade, it's going to want to be a free faller. So that's awesome. By the way, while it has been breaking in, no blade play has developed, no lock stick, no lock rock, nothing. As to be expected with Wii knives. You know, I feel like I'm saying that on every single video I do, but I'm just glad that we're not seeing that. You know, it's sad that we still see it in knives that are coming from like Benchmade, you know, there's some others out there, but I feel like every single time I handle a Benchmade, I'm like, yeah, there's a little bit of blade play there, and it bothers me. You know, some people don't care as much about blade play, but that really bothers me. I'm happy that it seems like the whole rest of the knife world is kind of like, yeah, of course there's no blade play. I mean, that's a given. You're paying, in this case, $140. Of course there's not going to be blade play on this knife. You know, it's almost like, it's like not even something that is even thought about anymore. It's just something that you are granted with a knife of this caliber. Whereas it used to be kind of a, there's a little bit of blade play, and maybe we'll adjust the pivot and kind of work it out a little bit, and maybe we'll get it exactly the way that we want it. With these knives, you know, Wii knives, Riot knives, and you know, just most knife manufacturers now, we just don't have to deal with that anymore. And I probably don't need to go into that much detail explaining that, but I just wanted to emphasize how happy that makes me. So, anyways, just an excellent design from Ray Laconico and Mastrop and Wii. I have come to really enjoy Ray Laconico's designs here lately. You know, looking at his customs and the knife that he did that I actually showed on this channel, it kind of looks like a little brother to this. The Easy C, the collaboration between him and Kaiser. I also really like that. I like his simplistic designs. These are excellent EDC options. The smoothness of the titanium, you know, the sort of narrow silhouette. This makes for an incredibly easy carry knife. And while it is only tip up right hand carry, I mean that meets my carry needs perfectly. It's not going to meet everybody's carry needs perfectly, but this was such a joy to carry. I like the bronze finish. If it were me, I'm kind of ultra boring, so I would have gone with tumbled titanium as usual. I know you guys are like, you so boring. You know, you like the monochromatic stuff. I just do. That's what I like. I saw that you can also get it in purple, and you can of course get it in bronze. I don't know if there were more options than that. You can also get it plain without this groove here. I don't know if I'd get it plain or with the groove. I kind of like the groove. You know, ergonomically, I thought it was just something to lay your eyes on, but like the Easy C, your fingers kind of do fall into that groove, and it adds a little tiny bit of traction to an otherwise really smooth and textureless knife. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk about the best thing about this knife. I already said it. This knife was $140 brand new. Now this drop has ended as far as I know. So these are only available on the secondary market now for God knows how much. 140 bucks for this brand new. I think they sold like 1,400. Maybe I'm wrong on that number. I just glanced at the mass drop page. S35VN, 6AL4V titanium, and made with WE's legendary standards of fit and finish and quality. Yeah, it's worth every penny. Oh my gosh, I wish I had jumped on this mass drop bandwagon a long time ago, because I would have added this and many other knives like it to my collection. But I was being stubborn and not wanting to buy knives that were manufactured in China, and that was just stupid because I'm missing out on stuff like this. So, believe me when I say, I get it. Those of you who are like, I only want to buy USA knives, I only want to support US companies. Listen, I understand that. But the other side of that is that you can still support your favorite American manufacturers. But at the same time, I urge you not to miss out on knives like this, because they're out there and they're coming. You know, it's not like anybody's stopping this. This is gonna keep happening, and they're only gonna get better. So at some point, I'm just really glad that I accepted that there are other amazing knives to be found out there that are not necessarily manufactured in the United States. Now, again, that's not going to stop me from buying US-made knives. In fact, my favorite knives ever are made in the United States still. But man, I'm just so happy to have opportunities to check out knives like this. 140 bucks. And then you pay like $5 extra for the groove, or $10 extra for something else. I don't know, something like that. But I think it's worth every single penny. Yeah, I'd like to see, I always say I like to see some jimping up top. I'd like to see some forward choil down below. But honestly, on this knife, I think that would almost take away from the smooth lines and just the simplicity, and kind of everything just flows. I mean, take a look at this knife. Really take a look at it here. Look how, it's so simple. Adding jimping up here would kind of take away from this aesthetically. Even if it were to add something in utility, I don't know that I'd want to take away from the way that this spine is done. And I don't know that it really needs to have a forward choil. I mean, I just kind of like this line. I mean, if you could imagine here just the silhouette of the knife, how it looks without the rest of the detail here, it's a simple design that works. Ergonomically, it's comfortable. I mean, you don't have any hand lines for your fingers or your palm to fall into, but is it comfortable? Yeah. Are there hot spots? No, really, honestly, nothing is sharp. Everything feels comfortable. I carried and lightly used this knife for 3 days, and I am nothing but impressed. This is, to date, my favorite mass drop knife that I have ever handled, and honestly, it's the most appealing mass drop knife that I have ever seen. I'm absolutely going to add this to my most recommended knives that have ever come through my hands. I think this is an excellent knife. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just incredible. I love it. So if you have an opportunity to get your hands on one of these for a reasonable price, which is going to be defined completely by you as an individual, I urge you to do so. This is just an amazing knife, and for the right price, don't pass up the opportunity to handle one. Anyways, guys, that is going to be pretty much it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so please check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel, because there is definitely more coming. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.